The purpose then for aligned to is, and they also call it the natural, and the Gene Keys also calls it the natural, which I always liked thinking of it when you talk about a learning style of the natural, because I mean, a hermit's not a learning style.
No.
How do you learn a hermit? I mean, I guess you could that.
I guess.
But it'd be like, what the hell do you mean?
It's like, how do you learn what?
Yeah. So it's the natural. Human Design reveals who you are energetically and who you came here to be. I'm Dana, Human Design Specialist.
And I'm Haley, the Human Design Newbie. Listen in as we explore how leaning into your authentic self is your ultimate path to success. Welcome to the Human Design Hive podcast. Let's get into it.
Good day, Haley. How are you?
Good day, madam.
What a delight it is to see you again.
It's been a fortnight.
Oh, goodness. It's good to see you again. How's it going for you?
It's good.
It's good. Catching up on your rest and everything.
Yes, I'm trying to finish my book.
Oh, what you read?
I am in the Court of Thorns and Roses series.
Hang on one second.
Yes.
Is your microphone picking up you sound different? Are you further away? Has it still got you on the right microphone?
Let me make sure. Mother effer. Where's my AirPods?
Oh, yeah. It sounded like you used to sound like, yeah.
Yeah, it was on my earbuds.
Oh, yeah. Your microphone's so much better.
There we go. You sound better now, too.
Oh, thanks. Oh, you've got so much more depth.
They're not going to get our banter.
They got it. I mean, we can start over. Nah, we can just keep going. Glad your microphone's fixed.
This is real.
Haley got a new microphone. I think we discussed this riveting information on the last episode, but it wasn't hooked up to the Zoom call there. So we had to make sure we got her with that nice, deep, bassy tones instead of those AirPods.
Any AirPods?
The AirPods are so bad.
They're so bad. That's like, come on, Apple. Come on.
Which, like if you're on a phone call, it sounds okay. But anywhere else, it's like tin can. It's terrible. Anyway, so you were talking about a book you're reading.
Yes. A Court of Thorns and Roses is the series. I'm in the third book, which is A Court of Wings and Ruin. I'm like towards the very end of it. I hadn't read it in like a week and a half.
Court of Wings makes you a little hungry. Sorry.
But yeah. So I read a bunch of it last night.
Like fantasy, sci-fi, normal life, history?
Definitely fantasy. It's about this humans, and they're called fairy, something along those lines. They're the fae. They have like magical powers.
Fairy, Faeri. That's a fairy. Fairy.
It's Faeire, something like that.
Yeah. The fae.
Mm-hmm. The fae. Mm-hmm.
Mythological powers. Yeah.
It's so good. Such a good plot.
My friend Tora if she knows that, because she's a
probably it is a very popular book series.
Yeah.
Very popular. Yeah.
I wish I could.
It's very good.
I almost said I wish I could read. I can read. I do read.
I could read.
I wish I could read. I do read. I just the times that I have to read, because as we discussed last week, we're talking about line ones. I love the information. So in my earlier part of the day, that's usually when I'm doing a lot of my researching. It's when I really love to like dive into stuff, and I start usually with perusing my emails, which leads me down a certain path or whatever. But it's all for a purpose. It's for somebody somewhere. But in the evening, when I would like to read more, I just don't. I don't have a lot of good fiction on my Kindle. I can never decide what I want to read as far as fiction goes. And then if I do have a couple books on my bookshelf, but they're physical books, which I have gotten really spoiled with a phone or Kindle or a computer being able to enlarge print on demand.
Mm.
And so I am 52. I do have to wear the glasses for the reading. And I just don't want my room that bright at night to have to read an actual book, because it would have to have like all the lights on in order to read the book. And there's just some really small. I remember I used to laugh about the large print books at the library, but I'm not that bad. I'm not that blind. But God, I used to read so much more than I do now. But what is it you like about the series?
It's just such a good story with it. Like, it's so well written, and it's just like, and it's written in I guess technically first person. Yeah, first person. So it's also like, I feel like I am the main character, Feyre. So it's like I just can get into it more. I mean, that's why first person is certainly like that. But it's just overall, it's just such a good storyline. Yeah. And you fall in love with the characters.
Yeah. Well, I feel so like not as cultured as you to talk about what I'm watching. But I did want to talk about it because I found this show. It's been in my queue. It's on Apple Plus, Apple TV, whatever they call it. I don't know what this Apple streaming is, but it's called the Big Door Prize. And
I haven't heard of that.
It has Chris O'Dowd in it, and it's about this. I just love shows like this where it's like small town or just a little town. It's some town somewhere. It's a fictional town, kind of like how Schitt's Creek was, and it's just the characters and how the quirkiness of normal life. But it's about a machine just shows up in the general store at the Morpho. It's called the Morpho machine, that apparently when you use it, it'll spit out a little card that tells you what your life purpose is.
Oh.
And of course there are naysayers, but there's also like people like, oh, it says I'm a dancer. I always knew I would. And so I can't help but watch it through the lens of what we talk about in human design all the time, because there is this tension in this show between, well, this is the life I have. Should I have this life? Or should, this was in my soul and now I've like been given permission to do it. And so there is that aspect of human design. When someone sees their design, it's like, oh, I am a leader, I am a storyteller, I am all these things, right?
Right.
But at the same time, what is your definition of those words or those themes or what you see? Because there's a lot of that. So of what does like the word father mean, or what does the word liar mean, for these people that are given these life purposes, and do you have free will? So it's all very interesting and it's entertaining. I love a good story that deals with how people live life, because apparently I'm obsessed with that. What people think, how they think, what they do, and how they do it. And so I guess I have found my purpose. So speaking of purpose, let's get back on track to our purpose.
Our series
today.
Our little series.
Our little profile series. And today we're going to be talking about the line 2. And as I said last week, we were, we've talked about profile before. We talk about it all the time, but wanted to give everybody just a nice resource of one line per episode so that they can go learn all the things about that line at that time, or just listen to it or whatever, or just hear what we're reading and watching. So I know Haley will be really into this one because she's line 2.
Yes.
So Haley, what's the line 2 refer to in traditional human design?
I think traditional is the Hermit.
The Hermit, yes, correct.
Yeah.
And so I'll try not to go through a complicated explanation this time about the hexagrams, because I realize doing these, for each one, but basically the lines correspond with the 6 lines of the hexagram, the I Ching hexagram, each gate in the human design system, which are on your body graph, are those little numbers you see everywhere. And on both sides of your body graph, you have the listing of all the numbers with your planets. Those are the gates, and you'll see a number with a point number after it, a decimal, basically. And so those are the lines, or those are the numbers that we're talking about, are they call them the profile lines in human design. They just call them lines in the I Ching. And so we discussed last time, the line 1 is the foundation of information, stability, security. And now if you're looking at the house, the house analogy, that's the foundation of the house, is the line 1. It's lower trigram, self-focused. And so the line 2 then, as we're moving up the trigram, because they go from lines 1 to 6, goes from the bottom to the top. The line 2 then is going to be a little bit different. Do you remember what it is in that house analogy?
In the house analogy, it's like the windows with the curtains are like drawn open, right?
Yes. It would be the open window in the bottom floor of the house.
Yes.
And do you know why that is?
It has to do with the fact that the hermit has to be pulled out. So they have to be able to see you so they can kind of coax you out.
Well, it's not that they have to see you. They do see you. So the window's always open, but yeah. And they would like to pretend that they're inside in their cave where no one can see them.
No.
The hermit. And so, so that means that line 2's then, with that being called out thing, means there's 2 profile lines that carry this projection field. There's the line 2 and the line
5.
That's correct. They express a little bit differently, but there is a projection field, meaning there is this calling out aspect to it. So with the line 2, in quantum human design, she calls it the responder, which she admits herself is a little bit tricky, because we talk about responding with generator types, sacral response. But this responding is different in the sense, if you think about someone being called out, it's being in response to what the others see or what the others feel that they can learn from the line 2. So the purpose then for a line 2 is, and they also call it the natural, and the Gene Keys also calls it the natural, which I always liked thinking of it when you talk about a learning style of a natural, because I mean, a hermit's not a learning style.
No.
How do you learn a hermit? I mean, I guess you could that.
I guess.
But it'd be like, what the hell do you mean?
It's like, how do you learn what?
Yeah. So it's the natural. And so when I did the Gene Keys episode, I think it really helped me understand this line a lot more, because he equates this naturalness. He also calls it the dancer. It's someone who is just in the moment, in the movement, in the using their body to express. The dancer is very fluid, and just a lot of times it's a natural talent. It can be learned and built upon, but it's, natural. So the purpose here for a line 2 in the grand scheme of things is, so we've got that line 1, which is gathering that information and knowledge. Line 2 then, expression, is integrating that knowledge. It is going into your own process and learning how it is. It's a more, like I said, natural process of what that information means and the meaning you give to it and how do you learn it. So I guess the easiest way for me to delineate learning styles is you and other line 2s I know are they just kind of know how to do stuff, right?
Yeah.
We've talked about this before. I know I've asked you many times, well, how do you know that? And you're just like, I don't know, just, makes sense or whatever. Figure it out.
Which is new.
I also find that line 2s are a lot faster learners. You can pick things up, I think, a lot quicker, because there is this if you're given enough time to kind of sit with it and figure it out on your own, it just clicks a little bit faster. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I definitely can see that. I was kind of ruminating on this the other day, and I was like thinking about it. I was like, if I try something new, I like kind of consciously want to be good at it right away. And then I'm like, is that part of my line two-ness that just has this like natural ability? So then my conscious mind is like recognizing that and wanting it. And I was like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, because you have that ability, because line twos have a natural, unique kind of inborn genius. There is this way of just, like you said, figuring it out or knowing, because it's not so much it's in between that gathering information and also like experimenting, this line too. It is, when you also think about a hermit, which is why they gave it the name hermit, is someone who is in their cave, just doing their own thing. They just want to be left alone. They don't have all this outside distraction to take them off of their course or whatever it is they want to do, right? So they can just kind of stay where they are. But then when you were talking about that projection thing, they're going to get called out. But I don't want to get too far down the line. I wanted to say about what you're questioning there about your line two-ness. Also, you in particular, your design has a lot of that questioning, but also that one of your two defined channels is that channel of judgment and correction. It is about wanting to refine, wanting to create, refine. No, there's definitely a lot of that energy in you, but definitely the line two aspect of it, I think for you, is playing a part. Because, I mean, let me ask you this. How does it make you feel when you don't know how to do something that you think that maybe you should, or someone may think that you know how to do it? How does that make you feel?
Really frustrated.
Yeah.
And like, I remember there was one instance I think that really explains it. It was in my college calculus class, I think it was. And I was not picking up, like I could not understand what the professor what we were learning that day. And I felt like everyone around me just knew it. And so then I was literally like sitting in class on the verge of tears because I didn't understand.
It's like literally me in any math class.
Because a lot of times I can just like, I just know things or I can learn them really quickly. And so it's like when I can't, I get really, really frustrated.
Because then if you don't know it and you don't know how do you go about then figuring it out? How would you go? I mean, are you stymied about how to then learn how to do it? I don't know. I'm asking.
Well, in that example, I don't remember. I think I just did homework, and I think maybe I just did homework and I picked it up or I got better understanding of it. But I think a lot of times,
just like it gets to a point that if you were just, maybe you're outside of class, you don't get it, you're frustrated, you're in class, you're feeling very upset. But then if you're just given time on your own to kind of,
it's either like it's like either I can process it on my own, or I'll look at it another way, or I'll like look up something differently, or I just kind of sit on it. And I think it just kind of clicks a lot of times.
Yeah, and I think that's very true to a line two process. Another way I think about it is like when I got my iPad, you have an iPad, and I got that Procreate app, because I thought, well, I have this thing to draw on. I have a pen that helps me draw. This is an app that helps facilitate the two to come together. Ought to be easy, right? I could not figure this fucking thing out. Everything looked like some kind of just blah. I don't want to say anything derogatory about anybody out there, but I maybe like I used my foot instead of my hands, put it that way. And I didn't even know how. I'd watch videos. I'd try to figure it out and I couldn't do it. And then you just start sending me artwork that you created on it.
Yeah.
And I'd say, how do you know that? You're like, I don't know. Just play around with it.
Well, like a couple of those designs I sent you, I did just like watch short YouTube videos, but then like
Yeah, but you don't watch like 40 of them like I would.
No, I like the one, it was like a name. You did your name and then it had like these colors coming off of it. And that one I just watched like a couple times and then just replicated it.
I would have to like step by step pause it, go back, pause it, go back.
Well, I have to do some of that, but if you right now asked me to do it again, I wouldn't be able to do it. Because I was kind of just following the video, but then like when I made the artwork for Daddy's Traveling Oyster Co. Mm-hmm. I don't remember watching anything for that. I just kind of I think I just started playing around with it on the Procreate. Mm-hmm. So like if you asked me to replicate that, I think I would be able to. Like I would still have to probably be like
you haven't done it in a while.
Remember it, but like I think I would be able to recreate opposed to the other things that I just kind of followed a video.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I have in my notes here that, you know, the natural talent and innate talent that is recognized as extraordinary, which it is because there's this naturalness to talent, but also may not easily explain their gift or process. That's true. And I'm sitting here trying to ask you to explain it. And you can't because you don't quite understand it, because it's like we say all the time about like if you're trying to find the thing that you're good at or your purpose for any profile or any of that stuff, quite often they say it's the thing that comes most natural to you that doesn't seem special. But to other people, that gift or talent that someone has is extraordinary. And that's like a line too in a nutshell, because they do know lots of things, but they don't know how they know it. And so they don't understand why people find them so interesting. So they would like to just kind of hide away, do their own thing, not be bothered by the outside world. But the world always will come and find you. Like, and it's not that someone's banging down your door all the time, like, hey, you have to figure this out for me. But it's like, say the line twos in my life, the more they quote unquote hide, I find myself wondering what they're doing, or they come into my awareness a bit more. Because now that I'm thinking about you, and I'm thinking about my friend Tora, I'm thinking about even Lakeland down the hall. She lives down.
You got a lot of line twos from around you.
I do. I have a few more there, but they, she'll spend a lot of time in her room. And a lot of times in the morning, she doesn't always come out and say hi. She's not unfriendly or anything like that. It's just, and the more she kind of hides away, I do start to wonder, like, I wonder what she's up to. And I find myself,
how could I go bother her?
Yeah. Or a line two might have the experience of kind of being quiet, kind of hidden away. And they're usually probably people reach out to them more than they might reach out to others.
Oh yeah. And in my friendships, I am not the one who reaches out.
Yeah. They might be after a while be like, you just pop into their mind and your energy is just calling to them. And there might be a reason for that. So as such, because there is this natural process of wanting to integrate and to explore on their own and be in their own process. It reminds me of, like, I don't know if she was a line two, but your grandmother, Mary Jane, just always happily puttering around in her house.
She was
following her own interests. She may be a line two. I don't know. I'd have to look it up. And but that's what I see, is that they're just happy on their own. But that's a necessary part for a line two, is that time to be alone, because that is how they end up with their knowledge, their talent. They can work on their talent or their skills or whatever it is. So the challenge here then for a line two, as you can imagine, would be finding some balance here of alone time and out in the world time. So this is a little trickier one about fear of line 2, some kind of inborn fear of line 2. We talked about line 1 was not knowing enough. So if a line 2 is someone who does like time alone, kind of is in their own process, right? And what is this? I don't know. Maybe it feels tricky to me and not to you. Maybe it feels tricky. A fear of a line 2.
Well, if you just think about the straight opposite of that, it would be like never having time alone. But it may also be something along the lines of like being pulled out by the wrong people or for the wrong reasons.
Well, there is that, that projection there. I definitely would say that. But that is, I think, very valid. I mean, you're a line 2. I think that's that fear of being projected on. But that's, I think, more inborn in a line 5 too, is to, get the wrong kind of projections. Usually line 2s get the right kind of projections, because it's a line 2 is in their own process. And so when people find them, it's a little different than that line 5 projection. But one fear that can kind of be there is really becoming almost invisible and disappearing and being a little too isolated, being left on their own all the time. Because, you might crave that aloneness, but at the same time, that in order to really fulfill your purpose, you're not going to be able to do it on your own. Right?
Well, it's like whenever Presley has to go for work, leave for work, it's like that first day, I love it. Like I enjoy all of my alone time, but then after like the first day, I'm talking to Bailey the whole time. I'm like, I could not live by myself. I enjoy my alone time. I'm like, I would not cut it all by myself.
Yeah. Well, because, again, it's a personal process there, but it serves the purpose of also being brought out into the world in some form. The line 2, let's see, the profiles of a line 2, there's a 2-4 profile, 2-5, and then 5-2 and a 6-2. And so all those 4 profiles are all very much have that tension between being alone and being called out. Right. And it gets expressed in different ways because of the other profile lines. But, at the core of it is knowing that there, at some point, you need to be called out, because there's no other way to really get your knowingness out there in the world, because other people have to recognize it in you and either help support you in your endeavors or help you what am I trying to say? Support you.
I don't know, but you
endeavors.
You used our vocabulary word from last week.
Our vocabulary word. It's a verb too, apparently. So anyway, so if we just kind of, think about that naturalness, learning, integration, that's what the line 2 is all about. And so if they're getting out of balance, knowing that let's put it this way. Where line 2s are most likely are going to get out of balance, as you said, is not taking time for themselves, right? Because there is going to be always this pull out of the cave. People want to pull you out of the cave, and you have to learn to not to go in the cave, but to understand that, this is really an important part of your process, this being alone. And it's an important part of your process to not just be alone, but to be prepared for when you are called out, that you have to have the time to integrate. But that also means a lot of like self-renewal and self-care, because you've got to make sure that you as the source of wisdom here is able to then deliver when they're called out and they have enough energy to be called out. be taxing on the energy.
Mhm.
So I also think it's really important for line 2 as well, for everybody, but it's especially important here when you were talking about the wrong kind of projections or anything like
Mhm.
that. So if you're following your strategy and authority, that will help you in a way, because if you're a line 2 that's a generator, you're going to have
Mhm.
something to respond to. If you're a projector, it could be an invitation. And so the more that the line 2 has had time to rest and process and do their thing, they're better able then to recognize when, someone comes to them and says, you are the person that can help with this. You'll know, yes, I can,
Mhm.
or I can't, and you'll know how to help them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Because you've had the time to kind of sit in your own self and kind of just learn yourself and
Mhm.
get right.
And another thing, because there's a projection, I don't think it's as severe as like a line 5 can have this trouble.
Mhm.
Without you taking the time to know yourself and your own process and what you know and how what your natural talents are and everything, people could come to you and might see certain things that they want to, see, because there's a little bit of that in projection there. People, okay, let's say your husband, let's just throw one out there, might tell you what he thinks you should be doing, right? What you should be attending to, because we talked about this before about the projectorness, right? Of not matching up energy styles when you guys
Right.
were first, living together. And so you might find yourself doing things that you have heard that you should be doing and may not be necessarily what you want to be doing, especially as a line 2 projector. There's probably a lot of things you might have to kind of clear out of your closet almost of prioritizing, right?
Yeah.
Of, is this what I want, or is this just what somebody thinks they want from me, or somebody thinks I should be doing? Really understanding that prioritizing yourself and your interest and what you want is not selfish. It's in service to everyone else.
Yeah, that's taken some time to kind of come to terms with. But I feel like I feel like I'm there, because I do.
I think you're doing better for sure.
Because I'm like, if I want to read my book, I'm gonna read my book.
Yeah, and I think we talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
So having this knowledge of human design and how your energy works has really helped you to be able to just say, like, no, I don't need to do that. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And I think everybody needs to hear this. And if somebody else has an issue with that, then that's not your problem.
Yeah.
I dole out a lot of good advice and sound bites here and there now and then. And I'm like, I need to take my own advice, because that's my biggest struggle. Is, well, do they have a problem with how I want to spend my time? I'm sorry. So, okay. So, in a nutshell, themes here for the line 2 is they have a natural, unique, inborn genius. They're a natural talent. They have a talent that will be recognized and called out. So, therefore, they need the time alone to really work on what that is. They do not like to be interfered with. You kind of want to be called out on their own time. Sometimes they got to be pulled out, I think. But so like I said, they're going to need that downtime. And yeah, so I'm trying to think if there's anything I left out of a line 2. I'll probably wake up in the middle of the night and be like, I should have said this. Instead, here I am trying to do a deep dive. But anything you'd like to add as a line 2?
I think so. Nothing's coming to mind.
Okay. Well, I hope that is useful.
Sounds so sure.
Oh, so let's talk about then. Let's see if we can suss this out then. The conscious and the unconscious there. We forgot about that part.
Okay.
Sorta. I mean, we may have touched on it, but so if it were an unconscious line, or excuse me, a conscious line 2 placement, that makes them a 2-5 or a 2-4.
Okay.
they definitely are probably people that really, I would say, identify as, especially the 2-5 introverts, in the
Mm-hmm.
sense that they're probably way more aware of their need to be alone and require that time. However, there's going to be this pull that comes quite often. People pull them out, like we said, especially I think, well, it's definitely, yeah, those two profiles, 2-5 and 2-4.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but and then on the other side, if it were unconscious, such as yourself, you're 6-2, or a 5-2. The 5-2 has that double projection field. Of course, the 2-5 does too, but the 5-2 has that double projection
Mm.
field, and that unconscious 2 placement's a little more difficult because they really have to. Um, it's kind of hard to figure out for themselves because they
Mm.
don't always know for themselves what they're good at. They do
Right.
need help with somebody else to point it out to them, to let them
Mm-hmm.
know what it is they're good at. So they really have to learn that themselves first before they're able to externalize with that line 5 as the conscious line 5.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's going to express a little bit different there for the 6-2. It's also, since the 6 always has that life mission feeling that they need a mission, they don't know what it is. Well, you've got plenty of time to figure it out. Your 2 is in that unconscious line, right? So it's always going to be a process of you throughout the different stages of your life, understanding and collecting and integrating, the things, the talents and gifts that you have, that you'll eventually move into that role model stage, as you age. But your life is very much going to be, as a 6-2, about trying things, integrating them, going in, figuring it out, and then coming back out with what if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing I want to say, the line 1 we were talking about, it's a very introspective solo
Mm-hmm.
process. The line 2, then, very much, he also talks about the gene keys. It's also related to like marriage and bonding, all this stuff, because what we're just talking about, the line 2 is going to need someone else to see them. They're on that ground floor
Mm-hmm.
inside, but they're not going to be called out until somebody sees them, and they have to. That also is how they learn to understand what their natural gifts and talents are, is by what other people come to them
Mm-hmm.
for. So I just wanted to get that in there too, because maybe we did leave out a few things.
Oops.
I feel like it was wrapping up too quick. And then also, as we said, this is also going to apply to any gates in your design, not just
Mm-hmm.
in your profile lines, that each gate has a line associated with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's all time math. So if you look at the line 2s in your chart, it may
Mm-hmm.
not be your profile, but there
Mm-hmm.
will be most likely at least one gate that's going to have a line 2 placement. So know that, however, whatever that gate theme is, it's going to be more of an integrative
Mm-hmm.
kind of in your own process type of wisdom that you gain from that expression, and that it's probably something that people are going to recognize in you and help pull you out and express
Mm-hmm.
that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I like that little extra layer of the gates.
Oh yeah, there's not apparently there are other layers. It goes deeper, but anyways, that's now, I think,
Yeah.
complete. So that being said, that leads
Mm-hmm.
us to dun dun dun,
The Incarnation Cross of the
Cross of the
Week.
week. And today we have a right angle.
Ooh.
Do you know what that means then?
Let's see if I can remember. So the right angle, counterintuitively, is from the lower trigram.
That's right. Very good. And so this one is in the right angle cross of the 4 ways. And so this cross consists of the conscious sun being in gate 24, which is rationalizing, conscious earth 44, alertness, unconscious sun 19, wanting, and unconscious earth 33. It's privacy. Again, those are the traditional names. Don't like them so much, but my little synopsis here is taking on more progressive ways of looking at things. So here we go.
Okay.
Your purpose is to explore the excuse me. If you have this cross, your purpose is to explore the power of narrative and storytelling, emphasizing the importance in shaping life's tone and direction through exploration, learning, and teaching. Your mission involves helping others recognize patterns within old stories that may lead them to settle for less in their relationships. With your natural sensitivity and intuition, you have the ability to identify situations where others may be accepting less than what they truly desire. You possess a keen eye for potential and know how to transform stories and narratives to support the fulfillment of that potential, urging others to aim higher. Through your guidance, people can release past patterns and pain and empower them to claim their true worth and value. Embrace your gift for unraveling complexity and enlightening others on their path to discovery, self-discovery. Your determination to find resolutions and provide clarity is a valuable asset in helping others find fulfillment and purpose. Trust in your ability to navigate the material plane with insight and wisdom, allowing it to guide you in inspiring transformation and healing in yourself and those you encounter. Ta-da. So I pretty much covered all those gates.
Yeah. That one was good.
Well, it's a lot of, those gates are like, let's see. Gate 24 is in the Ajna. 44, that alertness instinct, all that stuff, that's in the spleen. 19, sensitivity, is in the root.
Solar plexus. Oh.
And, it connects to the 49, the solar plexus. And 33 is also a throat gate, I believe. I don't know when I talk off the top of my head and doubt myself.
Hey.
33. Yeah, 33 is the throat gate.
Because I'm here, you're getting my gate of doubt.
I have that gate.
Oh, never mind. We're doubling down.
You have doubt. No, you have doubt. I have answers.
I
have the other end of the channel there. You have the 63. I have the 4. I always need to know. So, anyways, all right. So we now know that's the end of this episode. We've gotten to the end of another one. So tune in next week when we'll be digging into line 3.
I was going to say, are we going to do line 3?
Yeah.
Because I would be very upset if we didn't.
Well, why would we? Why would we mess them up in order?
I don't know. You might do something like that.
It doesn't help us learn. We're building on each one.
We need structure, not chaos.
That's right. And we got the line 3 coming up next time. So once again, appreciate y'all listening, and we will catch you in the next episode. Bye, Haley.
Bye.
You made it all the way to the end of today's episode, so you must have liked what you heard. If you did, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode, and perhaps leave us a good review. And if you know someone who wants to dig into all things human design with us, make sure you share the Human Design Hive podcast with them. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks for listening.